Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy, my channel's Finding Value, and I'm looking at investment opportunities. These are ETFs. There's two things I want to do here in this one. It'll give us a wide kind of look at all of these sectors that we're looking at: energy, copper, some uranium. I also go over dollar and 10-year yields. So we're looking at all these things and rare earth elements. I'm looking at that one too. We're looking at it and seeing what they look like on a big picture view. If these look good and they're favorable for us, then we continue to hold. It is really that simple. So let's dive in. This is technical analysis of the ETFs and see what we have. So here's the 10-year US Treasury yield. Look what we have here. This is kind of like some like shoulder-ish, even though it usually goes down, like upside, down, and then we're going to kind of do like a back test and then probably bounce higher for yields. That means inflation's coming in a weaker dollar. But I don't see this as some, I should say, a formation that shows lower yields. I don't see that. I see higher yields. And usually what you see is this comes down, creates this pattern, and on the way up, it does the exact opposite. So we've got this kind of move here, and then I think we're going to move on up somewhere up here on yields, which means bonds, the price of bonds will go down when yields go higher. This is the yields here. When yields go higher, it means we have inflation and a weaker dollar. So what I think is going to happen here is we're going to see a weaker dollar. We've got this uptrend line here. It broke to the downside. And whenever this breaks to the downside, it's great for commodity investments. We've been a little bit moving up with the dollar, which is a headwind for our commodity investments on the very short term here, this little movement here. I think that it will turn and head lower, much lower, when it breaks below 89-ish. 89 in here. You break through this area down here, and I think we're going to see something it's going to come all the way down to probably 84-ish, somewhere in that range. So I'm waiting for this to break. When it breaks to 84, it's going to be game on for commodities. So you're going to see a big move on all the commodities. So let's look at some of the commodities. After this, I'm going to look at TIPS too. TIPS are highly correlated. This is Treasury Inflation Protected Securities, TIPS, is highly correlated to the price move of gold and silver. Now, what's funky here is we broke out of this to the upside for TIPS. We've been moving up. We had this little pullback, and then we're moving higher in TIPS. Gold should be moving higher. Gold's a laggard right now. And when gold turns, I think we might see this thing snap higher and follow TIP, because usually these are pretty highly correlated. Not 100%, but they are correlated. Now, global X copper miners, you can see the dollar has some pressure on it. We broke the uptrend, and this is a big old downtrend here. It's a big one. We snapped out of it. They usually break, and then we come back a little bit. We may even test this 200-day. Be patient here. Let's let this thing work its way out. We'll accumulate some more, and hopefully we move a lot higher when the dollar gets a little bit weaker. Here's uranium, North Shore Global Uranium on a weekly basis. I've got this big pattern here. We came up to this corner and we broke to the downside, and you can see that we're going to probably pull back a little bit more, sideways to pull back until these sellers exhaust themselves. But I think we're going to work a little bit lower and eventually see a turn here, I think somewhat soon, or at least go sideways to lower for a little bit. Now, here is the oil service ETF OIH. We broke the downtrend. We came up, kind of did a little back test, pulled up again. We're moving sideways to lower a little bit. But on the big picture, looks very good. XLE, Energy Select Sector. Again, we broke the downtrend. We've got this kind of bowl-shaped cup and handle pattern. Now we broke to the upside, and we're just kind of moving on higher. This was a large move here. This was basically the COVID sell-off right here. This was a massive COVID disaster for oil. I think we're kind of back to where we would have been on this breakout in 2019 that was trying to break. And I think we're kind of back to where that is. So we have incredible value still at this price. Here's the Van Eck Vectors Rare Earth Strategic Metals. I like this one a lot. Big move higher, consolidating right here. I think we're going to break to the upside very soon and just blow this thing out of the water. Looking great for a long-term hold. Gold to oil ratio, we have been declining on it. We're at 24.42. The trend line down here is at about 20. So we have a long way to move before we even hit this resistance trend line. So that's good. Natural gas, just straight up, is looking fantastic to move higher. It is broken out of all this. It's even broken out of this little pattern here. Looks fantastic. Good. Look for investments in natural gas is what I'm AKA saying. Copper. Copper itself, we broke this downtrend line. We're moving, we moved on up. It's had a massive move, and we're just resting right now. It's consolidating. So sideways to lower is probably what's going to happen for the short period. So that's what I'm seeing in the ETFs and some of the pricing. I think it all looks fantastic. We broke all the big trends to the upside on every single one. Now we're just pulling back and putting in a little rest period. And that's what happens. This is totally normal in markets, but the underlying fundamental market conditions that are under all these things for higher prices, all intact. We've broken all the big picture trend lines. You break up, you kind of pull back, and then you take off again. If the underlying fundamentals remain strong, there's no reason that these won't go higher. So I'm playing the big game here. I'm holding on. I think they all look fantastic. And it's just going to take time for this consolidation phase and pullback to happen. Once we are done with it, I don't know if it's going to be weeks or months. We'll move on higher afterwards. All the ratios are good. All the value's still there. The money hasn't flowed into these. These are just at their base. They just broke out. So big moves are still ahead of us. If you guys like this content, give me a thumbs up, leave comments below, and thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.